Hey, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Energy Unleashed podcast. My name is Suzanne Worthley with my co-host, Kim Hess.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing, Kim? I was saying before we started recording, your necklace is awesome for this chakra. It's gorgeous. That big
I feel like it's just like beaming out love.
Yep. Sending out love bunnies, right? Well, we are continuing our chakra series. And so we have already gone through the physical plane, which is 1, 2, and 3. And today we are going into what we would call the bridge or the actual heart chakra. And this is the one that kind of connects the first 3 on the bottom, our root, sacral, and solar plexus. And then we move into the bridge or the astral plane in the body, which then eventually will bring us to our spiritual chakras, which we will roll out in the next weeks or so. So yeah, this is the big one. This is the hard one in a lot of ways, right?
It is. I think as you're figuring out your bottom 3 chakras, your heart starts to open up differently. And it takes a lot of time to just trust it. It's really hard to just trust it.
I think that is like the understatement of the world. Yeah, I mean, the heart is, well, we're going to roll it out here and we're going to unleash this to let everyone know this is a difficult chakra. Always take what resonates from Kim and I, toss what doesn't. But I want to just summarize for a quick moment. We already know that our first chakra was all about stability in earth. It was our foundation. It was about us having focus, form, materialism, understanding singularity, etc. Then we move it into the second chakra, which is the sacral. This is then moving into understanding water. This is passion, desire, but it's opening up to relationships. Now there's love in the second chakra, but it's more about passionate sexual love because all of our sexual organs are there. That is not the same thing in the heart chakra. So we do have love in 2 different chakras, and we do have relationship in those 2 different chakras, but you're going to find there's a difference in the resonance or the frequency of what that love is, and we'll get into that. And then in the third chakra, the solar plexus, we found our fire energy. So that was when we get into like movement and movement forward. And now we move into what we would know as our harmony or balance or space. And it's green. We don't look terribly green, you and I, but I don't know, the colors on here.
We're green. It must be because of my coloring. When I try it on, I must not look good because I never.
Your whole room's green though, so we're pulling it off just fine and dandy.
It's true. That does look pretty good.
So the color for the heart chakra resonates at green. They all have different colors. We are the rainbow, literally. This is the element of air. So first we had the earth, then we had the water, then we had the fire, and now we have the air. Air happens to be my favorite of all of the, you are the water. Your favorite is the water, sacral. That's kind of funny that you're sacral and I'm air in the heart. So it's both relationships and love. That's cute. So yeah, this is about knowledge. This is about things that are light and spirited. This is moving into that spiritual realm eventually. So it's about opening up and really like expansion. Okay. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Air is so amazing because it disperses, and it's such an interesting word to think about. Like I do a lot of spraying of Florida water for my work, obviously, and it's like perfume, or it's like, gosh, you have to go in the bathroom and spray the spray or whatever it is, it disperses. So it just eventually kind of like permeates the whole entire everything.
Yeah, and there's like well, just at the cabin on the weekend, let me use my words, on the dock, there was higher winds and gusts for a while over the weekend, and just to stand out there, it's like it permeates or goes through you and just clears stuff out, right? Yeah,
that's why I love the element of air. That's my strongest superpower, and it is my strongest clearing power. And you're right. You can just feel air go through you, around you, and envelop you and permeate. And it's just, it can be so calm or it can be so invigorating. And I think it's just a really interesting element. And it is so interesting for this because you're going to find out as we progress here that the heart chakra is all about the oneness. This is the breath of life itself. And we know that this is the heart center with our actual heart. We know that the human body has to have the actual heartbeat to some extent, right? Or we're not breathing, right?
Here. Yeah, we're Onward.
We're on a machine that's faking it for us. So this is our breath of life itself. It is vital to our process. You know, our cells, our organisms, our organs, everything depends on our breath and moving that through. We have a couple of words that we use interchangeably in this world, which is prana or chi. I guess ki is another one, Japanese wise. I don't usually use that one, but I think that this is understanding that breath itself is the interface between our material matter world and the heavenly spiritual world itself. It is the connector, but it's also the connector for us. It's the connector for us to understand everything. And when we break it out in a minute, I'm going to kind of go into a couple of things that I've done where I felt that oneness, but I want to start first with the influences and the imbalances. So this influences our circulation, obviously. It's right here. Obviously, it is our passion, our devotion, our forgiveness, our love for one another, etc. So it influences the actual process for our body to actually move everything through, get air, get blood, get everything. The imbalances or the negative characteristics are, and I'm going to read off of a long list because this is a big one.
Are you doing it like when it's too open versus closed?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a sec.
Okay.
Yeah. So coronary illness, heart attack, asthma, breathing disorders, lungs, cancer, pneumonia, colds, allergies, higher low blood pressures, elevated cholesterol, breast cancer, shoulder pain, backache in the rib cage, rheumatoid arthritis, the hands, the confidence. It will affect your confidence, your hope, your despair, your hate, envy, fear, jealousy, passivity, all of that. It's really, it's the biggie because there's so many important organs, right? Yes. I mean, there's so many important organs right here. Yeah. So we have underactive, will be withdrawn. It is isolation, lacking empathy, unforgiving, judgmental, overly critical of ourselves and others. So when we're not circulating that chakra well enough, we get into that really pissy, woe is me victimization mode. Yeah. And I think that that's really, it's very common right now. When it is overactive, meaning that spin is going too fast, we're getting too much and it's out of control. That means that we are codependent, our emotional self care is neglected. We've lost our sense of identity. We lack personal boundaries, saying yes to your detriment. Yes, I'll do that. We'll get into that because this is the empath one, right? And giving to others without restraint. So this is when we are over exaggerated in that heart chakra, mostly not knowing our boundaries. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is a toughie because it is absolutely where we take everything in empathically. We empath in all of our chakras, but mostly it comes through this heart chakra. We oftentimes connect empathing with this series because this is our goal is to help people understand their boundaries, and the heart boundary is a really tough one. Mm-hmm. So again, the body parts are just so many things: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all the stuff that Americans do because we're stressed and we're out of control. So it's tough. This is a toughie.
It's really, I mean, when you're talking about that, like a couple of other ones, like when you're too open, is that possessive? Like if you're looking at relationships, very possessive, overly dramatic, controlling, you know, that whole part of it. And then, you know, when they're blocked, the biggest one that stuck out for me was fear of rejection.
Yes.
Is part of that one.
This is the biggie that everything will culminate in at the end when we wind down here, because rejection is the biggest deal for us. We always have a gemstone. Kim has on, what is that? Turquoise, right?
Turquoise.
So turquoise can be used for the throat chakra, but it can also be used for the heart chakra as well. And it is, especially when it's green turquoise, then it really applies because technically the color is green, but everything doesn't have to be green. Rose quartz is one of the biggest, best, powerful, right? You got one right there.
I wear this a lot. My rose quartz from Peru.
And I always tell people that are having heart issues or breast cancer issues or even grief issues, especially if they're women, put a piece of rose quartz inside your bra and let it hang right underneath where that actual heart organ is, because that is really a great thing to be able to work with. So that pink is just as strong. I love jade. Oh, that's a good one.
This is the one I stick in my bra. It's huge, but
okay, that's big.
When I write prayer, like I only do it while I write prayer. I stick it right there and it just totally vibrates. It's so fun.
Wow, we just went to a TMI for the first time where I stick it when I write prayer. That's awesome.
I gotta shake it up once in a while. Come on.
Oh, Lordy girl, that's funny. Okay, so basically, when we're talking in a big way, we're making a quantum leap. We are going into what we would call the ethers of the actual spirit. This is when we are getting into more things in a bigger pattern. We're transcending our ego. We want to remember that the solar plexus is about the ego. And we talked about how the ego can get really off course. And we can, and again, you said something about possessiveness and stuff. I see the narcissist a lot between the solar plexus and the heart, right? This is where the narcissist, the gaslighter, all of those sort of come up for me, those kinds of people,
Right.
and the victim, victimizer, controller program.
When you're talking about the lower chakras, those are all like community, tribal influences, relationships, kind of interesting, because when you're moving to the bridge now,
Yep.
I mean, that transition is really difficult when you're used to your tribe, you're used to the community, and you're a follower, and what you're told you do,
Right.
basically.
And now transcendence comes, and it's like, wait, I have some personal responsibility now. Things change really extensively when we expand here. I think people have a hard time expanding. I think people are scared to expand. I think, like you said, go over here, do this, learn that, eat this. Okay. That's what we like to do, right? I mean, there's a part of the human that loves that stuff. So this is when we start to get into a way bigger sense of self-responsibility. And I think that freaks people out a little bit, right?
It's unsettling when you get into it. My first experiences were in Peru. Not only connecting with my lower chakras, but starting to feel that love,
right,
from the oneness, from the people, from the, the first time I went, I just like lost it.
I was in awe of you. I watched it happen. Why don't you expand on that for listeners a little bit? Because you are the epitome of how the three chakras burst into one. You did the expansion right in front of my face. So tell them what that felt like, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I think every day that we were there was new release, starting with my root chakra, especially. We were in a ceremony on the ground, sitting butt on the ground. And I had a very amazing experience of release of beliefs and some different things that just flew from me. So as you go up the chakras every day, there was something releasing, but something new that I was allowing to receive into. Like I could feel energy coming in a loving, beautiful way as well. So by the time we left that trip, I'm like a kind of an emotional mess. I mean, I could look at a pretty card and start crying, or, you're like, what did you think of Peru? Yep. It was so beautiful.
I actually have you on tape. I have you on video doing that. Yeah.
So beautiful. And the people are so loving, and that love and that feeling of being part of that was just, it was awe. It took a while to adjust to it. It was very uncomfortable to start with.
And I think Peru in and of itself does offer that, because the land, and you kept saying the land itself is so loving. It has such a Pachamama mother feel. It does. It's the nurturant. It's the embrace. It's the you're safe, you're cuddled, you're one with it. And I think that's the first experience for many Americans to go, what do you mean I'm one with the land? Because our land is so raped and pillaged here in the US. We don't really have that beautiful, encompassing, like we said, the air envelops you, it permeates, it goes through, and that's what happens in Peru. And I'm so excited to maybe get back there soon to experience that with more folks, because it's life-changing. It truly is
life-changing. And what took me, I'm still working on the you're worthy, all of the things that just it comes and goes. You're feeling good, everything, you feel like one, and then there's a day where you're like,
nope,
a little off, out of balance.
I'm out here on the island.
Out of balance.
Yeah. And balance is exactly what this is. So balance is really the context of this complete thing. Balance from our physical chakras to our spiritual chakras, balance from our male side of our energy to our female side of our energy. It almost quarter panels the humanness all the way down to this core. And the core really is about balance. And we are not that great humans at balance. We don't understand inner peace. We want outer peace. And so we don't understand that this kind of love is about balance, healing, breath, relationships. And we don't understand the meaning of love, because we either have love in a really conditional way, or we want to have Hallmark love, which isn't even a real thing. You know, I mean, it's just so funny. I mean, my husband always says, well, what festival is it today on the Hallmark channel? You know, I mean, they try to do all these little things that pull love out in those shows. And that's part of it. It's relationship, it's affinity, it's touching, it's all those things. But when we get down to it, people confuse what love is because we're so programmed and trained and scared of or overdone in sexual love,
Mhm.
passionate love. Even the Hallmark channel does it. You get the guy or the girl at the end of it. That's how it happens, and that's not what this is. Sensual love is about me getting something and giving something as an individual. This is an expansion of love. And it's so hard for us because this is going into and through everything, not just like I'm with somebody to have an exchange,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it's
Right.
very different. And
Yeah.
it's so hard to understand that is deep inside of us, not coming from someone else.
Right. Right. And that's where the unsettling part of that comes from, figuring that out. It's just really, I don't know another word for it, I guess, but then
And
it
it's
keeps coming
and
up
it's
based on.
ongoing, right? I mean, you never get this completely right or done
Mhm.
because it's always changing, and we are so connected to the collective. And remember, this is also the fourth dimensional field in our chakra system. So the fourth dimensional field is also the astral plane. So
Yeah.
now we're in the astral plane with this love as well, which means we're in the collective. So now this is where the heart chakra for me gets really messy sometimes, because we can pick up all kinds of crap in the astral plane. We can pick up collective consciousness program, and we can kind of combine with everybody else's fear states when we maybe don't have them. And this is really difficult for us because I think, are really in need of doing deep work to keep balance
Yeah.
in this, because it's
Absolutely.
always tipping. The scales are always tipping, right? Because
Mhm.
of the collective.
Yeah, you can feel it in the energies of what's happening, and depending on who you're with or where you're at.
Yes.
If there's a lot of fear and a lot of it's that ability to be able to discern, "Ooh, that's not mine." Or when there's a tragedy, I really have to work hard as a oneness not to take that in and really show the physical signs of all of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the heart it's tricky.
Yeah, and this is that collective empathing, like you said, Maui, we talked about just recently, and how you can take on all of that sadness of the fish, the plants underneath the water, the plants on the island, the whole nine yards. You can take everything in this field of the bridge, and it's very, very difficult. I think this also gets to the root of enough. I think this is one of, well, actually, this slays all three: safe, worth, and enough, but mostly enough,
Mhm.
because this is where we find the empath going above and beyond. I do this to show love. I do that to show love. There's that wonderful book way back, I don't know, in the 80s on love languages. And most oftentimes you don't see people mirroring the same love language. And the love language people that are service to others are really, really all about, I'm going to do this to show love. I'm going to get that. I'm going to give that. And there is never enough. It's just never enough. And therefore we feel never enough. And this is probably, I think, one of the biggest detriments to the heart chakra is never enough.
Yeah.
It's really
And it
hard.
really, when you're in that mode that you have to give to everybody else because that's how you think you're receiving love, you're on that gerbil wheel again. You're
Oh
just
God.
constantly doing for everyone else and you're not taking the time for yourself.
And it does affect our relationships. And this is the relationship chakra. But again, I want to jump it up, because the relationship chakra for people and things is how I relate to is the sacral. This is in relationship. Again, think permeation of the fumes of the air or the perfume or
Mhm.
the whatever. Every little molecule has a relationship with everything, but we can't even think that big. So when we get to the heart chakra, this is when we want recognition, we want validation, we want, aren't you noticing that I take care of you? I just literally had a client yesterday that really is struggling because she still, even at an adult age, is struggling with no outside validation or recognition from a parent. And it's very difficult, and it's typical until we finally find out that that doesn't value you. It's not your value. It's not your worth. It doesn't
Um,
conditionalize it. And this is one of the chakras that has the most conditions attached. So as an energy practitioner, what I see is tentacles. It's just like that kind of a feeling in the heart sometimes, because we have so many cords. We have so many tentacles. I love you if you, I love you when you, I'm not lovable because you, and all of these cords can just choke the crap out of this. And oftentimes it will go right to our throat because we're not seen or heard. So this is probably one of the most conditionalized chakras there is, these two, both of them. And we'll get into throat the next time.
Yeah, I found myself last night because we're waiting for parts for our vehicle and I need to go to Nebraska this week and they're not going to show up in time. And I'm like, I looked at Brad and I'm like, oh my God, I was going to say, if you love me, you'd have this car ready to go. I'd be able to go on my trip and do all of this. And I'm like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yep.
It just creeps up like that. And it's like, wow, that's just not right.
And this is so easy to do. I was telling the client down here, please give yourself some ease and grace on it, but do your best to educate yourself and get more skilled in it, because we can do this flip, like you just said, so easily. It's like, you know, are you doing the dishes tonight? Yeah, I'll do them. And then 2 days later, the dishes are sitting there and there's only 2 of us in the house. And so like, if I was that important or loved enough, you do the dishes, right? What is that? How do you tie your work to dishes, right?
Yeah.
But we do it. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So, and this is, the heart chakra is so important, as are they all, to go inward to find the balance within, because we're giving away that power and that empowerment to everybody else under the sun. And we splice ourselves apart. And the heart chakra, when we're talking about communicating within the body for healing, you know, we humans are so pieced apart, especially in this area. I have a lung doctor, I have a heart doctor, I have a cholesterol doctor, I have a, you know, God forbid, an eyeball doctor, a toe doctor, you know, an ear doctor. We're all parts, right? And we don't understand the inclusivity of everything to find that balance within our bodies. So it's very, this chakra talks about affinity or bonding or coming together or a combination thereof. And this is the heart chakra that combines everything in the body, including all of the organs, so that they can communicate as one. And this is why body scanning can really affect our heart. We can talk to our body parts. When we go to someone like a cranial sacral, for example, they work on activating communications between your body parts. Is your leg talking to your ear? I mean, literally, it's that old song, is the leg bone connected to the knee bone, right?
Yeah. It's an amazing experience, because movement of body and release out of the energy, or even out of your physical body, they're like, it's such that sacrocranial, I love it. It's amazing what comes out of my body when you go through that experience.
And it's all twisted. I mean, again, I was working on somebody yesterday morning, and the amount of cords that were twisted like a octopus around this person. And by the way, way the hell out in their field into another dimensional space and place, meaning a timeline. You know, we are so conditionalized and programmed and twisted in this chakra because we don't know how to do the heart. And yet this is our superpower as a human body, right? Our human body is what any other planetary existence covets. We are the feeling sentient being body, but most of us don't even let our bodies feel and communicate with each other. It's just a really tough thing. And hopefully some of these classes or these sessions that we present assist people in understanding that this is your safe. This is your temple. This is where you are the most powerful. And within this whole entire thing, this chakra is the most powerful. Like they said, it's heaven on earth. It's your temple. It is right here. So this is the biggie, right?
Yeah. Even I was thinking about kind of going through the weekend. It was a roller coaster. And I think it had to do with the full moon last week.
Oh my God, right?
But I was like in the moment and experiencing and feeling so much. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what is happening? It didn't feel right. Like it was just a roller coaster of energy and emotion that I had to constantly put my feet on the ground and be like, okay, what's going on now?
Yep.
What is this?
It's really been tough the last couple of weeks. I've slept like crap about the last 4 nights in a row. I am up all night flopping at like 3 till 5. And then maybe I'm lucky if I go to bed at 6 to wake up at 8, you know, I mean, it's like, but this is, I think the love of our actual planetary system is coming back online. Our Vibe Tribe group, our membership, and if you're interested on that at any time, look on my website. But the Vibe Tribe, we do our best to really go above and beyond and teach bigger things. And we talked about the mother God frequency coming in and love. And that's what we're talking about. This is the love. The human body in the heart chakra has not been able to connect to the actual mother God energy, much less mother Gaia energy. So this is three different things we're talking about. The core of the actual planetary existence, mother Gaia's heart, is being activated by mother God right now, putting the system back online in the earth, and we are being activated. And I think this is why we're getting our butt kicked, because it's love, but it's like, what is that? What is that? It's so expansive. It's so big that we don't know what to do with it. So therefore we lose our ground.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, it was also amazing to be by the water and have the wind and all the elements going too, because
Yeah.
I
I know.
needed
I just
them.
want to run up north and hide from everything too.
Just
I know,
needed
right?
it.
So again, when we look at the love process, it's really kind of cool to see how our own body educates itself. Meaning when we're in that second dimension or that second chakra, we're in that sexual love, relationship love, but this takes the relationship to the expansion of the higher. So it's almost like it combines your crown chakra, your inner knowing, your biggest, highest knowing with your bodily self. So it's kind of cool how the body builds on its own self. Do you see what I'm saying? It's really kind of neat.
It is.
I think one of the things that's important here, because I was a hospice person for so long, is people also think about sexual love, like the act of sex itself and or passion itself, which is one thing. But there's also the human touch thing that is important when we're at the heart chakra. And I oftentimes think about it for babies or just, hugs, how we get a hug, how we have human touch, period. But I always think of the death process because a lot of people want that stroke or that body touch or that connection when someone's leaving them, or when I'm the one leaving, laying in the bed, so this is those so-called strokes or body touches in a bigger way happen in this chakra. Is that making sense? Am I making
Yeah, I
sense?
feel like it's a different intimacy
Yes.
that isn't the sexual physical intimacy. That's not
Exactly.
what it is, but it's a connection at that heart level.
Yes.
And then when you have that with somebody who's going through that process, I think that process goes better for the person leaving and the people.
Everybody. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not that much different, Kim, when they take a baby out of our womb and lay it on our heart. I mean, that's the whole thing. Skin to skin, the first thing they do is they stick it right on your chest.
Yep.
And so this is, we come in like that, we go out like that to some extent. So this is, I think, one of the most important things in that heart chakra is being able to, and again, that's not sexual passionate touch. This is just inclusive, being one with someone when they're coming or going. So I also think in the death process, this was another client this week, losing somebody, people get scared. I want to tell them how I feel. I need to get all this out, should I tell them when they're dying that, I'm still mad about this, or I still want this? And this is a personal choice, but my suggestion is tell it this way. Tell it this way, unless you are really needing to say something to someone. A person who is going through the process of shutting their body down can hear you on a telepathic level, as can anybody, anytime, by the way. Prayer, as you know, is a profound way to move these understandings through. If I'm estranged, if I have lost the love, the actual commitment, combined love with a spouse or a friend or a partner or a whatever, I can do it from here. And this is probably the biggest prayer chakra too, to be able to move that love communication pattern outward without having to do it in physical form. And I think this is where people get really freaked out. I have to be there, or I'm so mad I can't talk to them. I don't know how to resolve that. This is the prayer chakra to me. Not that they aren't all.
I agree that this is the prayer chakra. And I agree that people like writing prayer for people, that when they receive their prayer, and they're using it over and over, that's where it goes, is right into the heart. And I feel it come from that space angelically.
Right.
So it's so interesting.
It is. I think the biggest thing, like you said before, is fear and rejection. This chakra hits that one the hardest. And this is why everything's conditionalized. So we have probably one of the most primal fears in us is rejection, abandonment. Most everyone I work with, when they're letting go of belief systems, is abandonment. Soul lessons on abandonment. And it's really tough. Those are the people that sign up for really hard family issues, you know, abuse, verbal abuse, whatever. And then it's very difficult for them to understand, how do I take that soul contract and work through rejection and abandonment? That's this chakra. And it's really hard because you can kind of get stuck in the second chakra with agitation, rejection. I don't want to deal with you. You're toxic. I'm going to cut you off. Those are all you haven't transcended, right? I mean, you haven't really got through that process of opening the heart space. This is when we come to compassion. And again, we want to make it clear that that doesn't negate the maybe need to not accept bad behavior, but we transcend into that spiritual realm of, I signed up for this with this person, right? We go to a higher space.
Yeah. And I think abandonment comes at so many different levels. I didn't know that before of, maybe you have a parent that didn't pay attention to you.
Yeah.
That's a form of abandonment,
Sure.
it's versus I left you on a curb in a, baby basket, that's a whole different deal. Like there's so many levels of that it's, I never thought about abandonment for myself. And there's a small part of me as a younger child that felt there's a lot going on in my family. And, so there's a form of that took me a lot to get through.
I think every human on this planet has abandonment in their soul contract because it's separation anyway. It's separation and rejection of source. And so we confuse that and we bring it into our own realm of separation and abandonment. We think we got left by somebody, and what we left was our own source self. We don't understand the concept, right? But our innate issue inside is, oh, I've been taken from something.
Yeah. And I want to go back. Like, where is that back? I just don't want to be here. Where is that?
Right. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
But I think that the whole thing of overcoming rejection, this goes back to those core values of if I feel rejected, I don't feel good enough. If I feel rejected, I don't feel safe and I'm not worth. And the reality is you're still giving that to something else, someone else. And so these are those core issues that are really, really important, in my opinion, to always go back to, especially when it comes to conditionalized love. Because man, can that happen easy. Like I said, I could be mad over the dishes. You don't love me enough to do the dishes. You know,
it was so crazy last night. I'm like, what's wrong? Where'd that come from?
Right. But you can stand neutral in it and you can find it, right? I mean, do you have any recollection of when you said it, what happened to your body?
It was angry. It was like my whole body tensed up and it just started coming out of my mouth. And he's looking at me like, and I'm like, all right, I have to go take a shower. And I took a long shower, like calm down. But everything, there was no love feeling right here. Like it was just an outpouring of frustration.
Yeah. And yet how silly is it when you stand back and you look at it?
It's totally silly. I'm in the shower going, what was that? Like, it's just a thing where it's all of it's solvable. Like, why would I be so upset about that? And it took me a little bit to get through it. And part of it was, I think I was just starting to be very impatient. Since the moon, more impatient. My triggers were more obvious, and I acknowledging those triggers of, I want things to be a special or a certain way, and I just want it done. And that's the control.
And I want it done now.
The control thing was coming out. There were several times over the weekend I was in that place, but then there were moments of total, like, just one with everything around me, that's the roller coaster on that. And so the triggers is what I need to spend some time with this morning or today.
And that's a great thing, to recognize the trigger. But I mean, give yourself some credit to recognize the process already. That's great.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's big. That's
sure
big.
Brad appreciates
it. Okay. So you hit on the thing that I'd like to unleash a little bit more in terms of being one with everything. This chakra has the capability, if one wants to, through breath. I think breath is a huge part of making this connection. Breath work, you can do that every other nostril thing. I don't do that because, I breathe like a dragon anyway for my work. So I do really big breath to connect with bigger things. I think the actual being able to sit in nature and connect with the all is one of the most powerful things that happens in this chakra when we all of a sudden really work to understand I am the water, I am the tree, I am the cloud. And it's so illogical to sit there and say that. And yet with breath work, I have found many times, mostly always in nature, that I am one with everything, and excluding people. I mean, I don't necessarily do that practice to sit there and think I'm one with people. I guess I do it maybe differently in maybe a dream state or a meditative state. But when I do these exercises, I do it with nature. So it's easy for you to go, oh, I'm going to breathe into and become the water. Now, it isn't an easy exercise, so don't think I said it was easy in that regard, because it's hard to actually let your mind go to that space. But the more that you practice those things, it'll come like out of the blue. I was driving one day and the sun broke open, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, that cloud moved and I am the sun. And it just came through like, wow, that was amazing. So the more that we have these practices of being one, I think nature is the easiest thing to do it with, because there's no conditions attached.
Right.
There's no cloud that's going to put an attachment. There's no tree that's going to say, hey, but. So these are exercises that I think are the easiest to do in nature. And then we can eke into our practice with humanity. But starting in nature, I think, is the key.
Yeah, and humanity is harder because I try to get my mind around it. And it's not about your mind, it's about the feeling of love, because there's just, some not nice people out there that I still need to love. And that's hard to do.
Yeah.
That's what it's going up here too much and thinking about it versus.
Well, and again, your brain went right to saying need to love. You don't need to love anybody. You don't.
That's true.
You already are connected. That's what's funny. We don't need to do anything. We are choosing or not choosing. And when we start to understand we're already connected, that word need goes right out the window, because I don't need to do anything. I actually think a lot of people are getting very healthy and walking away from toxic relationships in this realm. And really having that great boundary in the heart chakra. But if you're doing it with anger and conditions still attached, because I don't want to be around you, that's a whole lot different than I'm taking, that space from you because I'm that important right now. And so are you in a bigger scope. That's two different things. So we are choosing on top of the concept of already being connected. We're choosing the boundary. Do you see? And so we can have a really tight boundary, loose boundary, no boundary, ridiculous boundary. We can do anything with these things, but they're always choices. And when we say, I need to love somebody, I need to love them, it's my mom. Well, actually, you already are connected to them. How you choose to show and integrate and experience that love is really your choice, free will.
Right.
So it gets a little difficult. Yeah, it's a hard chakra.
It's hard. Yeah. And it's constant work. It's constant work.
Yeah. The arms and the hands are really, I think, part of this, and the throat chakra, because of the fact that it comes out here. The hands are a secondary root chakra, as are the palms of your feet, by the way, for your root. But these hands and arms are very much about, this is why Reiki healing comes from here. And this is your input centers also. So left hand is oftentimes what we would call the input center. Right hand is, sending out. That's not necessarily the same for everybody. I happen to be backwards on that sometimes. So I think that the hands and the arms are part of this healing mechanism, hence why we shake hands, or why we hug, or why when I touch you, I get a psychic hit, right? I mean, these are really activations for us to get information in. And so be aware of that as well. And so if you're having difficulties here, these are also places to work that heart chakra. I'm going to hold a rose quartz, or I'm going to hold a grounding stone, or whatever it is, because those secondary chakras are super important for the psychicness in us. Right?
No, totally makes sense. And then you think about like arthritis. You'd mentioned rheumatoid, but just arthritis in general.
Yes.
Arms, hands, that it's all there.
And, we can work on our hand chakras. We can activate these. These are important. And I think that would help the arthritics. I find myself, when I'm doing way too much typing, like when I'm writing again, it's like, oh my God. And I'm feeling like I couldn't even open a jar the other day. It was ridiculous. I'm like, I got nothing going on.
My writing finger isn't so straight anymore.
Oh my God, me either. Remember, this is our goofy finger.
I know. It's the one that, all those years of writing, and I still write. And
I think it's more these years. No. Talk about conditional. Talk about conditional love. It's that crooked witch finger that says, no, you can't do it. So I think figuring out how to do patterns on your hands, do massaging on your hands, doing self-massage on your hands, stones on your hands, those are all really, I think, very important things. So
Yeah.
I also believe that this is a place that is important for us to scan. This is one of the places where we will take on so much crap from everybody else. This is the chakra where we oftentimes get the most in terms of the collective energies coming in. So being aware, if you're the empath that says, oh my goodness, I've taken on this sadness. Is this my sadness? Is this my sadness today? Is this my, that's a huge skill set that needs to come into this chakra, in my opinion, to be able to make sure that we are clean and clear in our own vibrational frequency here, because this is super hard. I mean, super easy, sorry, super easy to empath.
Yeah, for sure. I was a major empath in this area.
Yeah.
A long time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. What stones do you use? We talked about rose quartz. We talked about green. Green would be, do you love emerald? Is one of my favorites. I have a raw emerald. I was looking for it this morning. I have no idea where it is because my rocks are everywhere. But a raw emerald to me is a really cool one. And green jade is a beautiful one for this.
Yeah, those are really, really pretty. And yeah, I don't know. I stick with rose quartz for my heart a lot.
Okay.
You know, that just seems to be my go-to for a long time. I feel it. Like,
and clear quartz to me is really good here too, as is selenite when I'm working on clients oftentimes. So I will oftentimes for a client also put an amethyst on the heart chakra to open.
And moonstone. I was just
Yes.
looking up. Moonstone is another one that I'll pull off and use when I'm doing some heart work.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That's really good. Okay, and then I was going to, because you said the last time that I needed the poses. I'm really bad with that. I have to look at my own book because I'm not, I know that they're like,
I think it's the one that you've talked about before though. Like,
it's the camel one, the wheel one, the bridge one, upward dog, the pressing up that whole heart chakra when you lay on the ground and you do this, that one, I love that one anyway. But I also think that it's when we bow over and that we do it this way. It's important for us to understand to stretch the heart this way, but also stretch it this way, right? I mean, we have to go both ways like the hinge to keep the backside of the heart open. I was going to mention earlier, when we are good at giving love, as a practitioner, I see this is more open if I give love, and this is more closed if I can't receive love on the backhand side. So scan your own body for that regard and see, maybe you're that kind that can give everybody love, but God forbid you give me something. I want to know what's attached to it. What do you want? Why are you giving? Why are you saying that I'm lovely and wonderful? What do you want out of that?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, and we do the same thing in the heart and the throat. Heart and the throat. Do the same thing. You know, what do you want? What do you want? Why are you doing that? And this is the area that people will protect until the cows come home. As client work, I see, you know, gosh, all the way from a bustier kind of a feeling to literally a cloaking the heart chakra to chains and bolts on the heart chakra. This is the grief place. This is the place where people hold so much grief. And again, collective grief oftentimes. And I want to say one thing from a practitioner standpoint. Here's what's so odd to me. I'm so scared to let somebody love me again because I've lost my partner, or my partner cheated on me, or I'm so scared to let somebody love me again. That confuses me a little bit as a practitioner, because if you've had the rejection, if you've had the abandonment, if you've had the issue, the thing that happened to you to cause such pain and grief, to close that down and have that so heavy is really not doing your body any good, obviously, right? We can't receive any of the oneness. We're disconnected from everything. But what you forgot is that you're in charge of that. You already had the red flag in the body. That's why I asked you when Brad had the interaction with you, what did Kim's body do? What did your body do? That's your calling card. Your calling card is, oh, Kim's body does this when she feels this in the heart. So why we think we need to protect so bad is odd to me, because can't we just own the fact that my body has a calling card in the heart?
Yeah, right.
I mean, why do we have to have this huge, gigantic bustier made out of, you know, planks of wood and God knows stones on top of us to not let anybody in? I mean, it's just, it seems
So we don't know this. I think I didn't know this until I started doing the work and different meditations and learning about how this all works. Like to be protective, I mean, that's that from birth, we're trying to protect ourselves in
Yeah,
whatever way we can. So I get why so many people lock down, because they just don't know. They don't know how to not be.
I guess. It confuses me a little bit because I've never really had that huge fear of, and I've had some relationships that really hurt before. And I mean,
Mm,
I've known some, and I do huge collective multidimensional grief. I get that. I mean, that's
mhm.
terrifying and to move that through your body. So, but I always go back to the fact that the individual has the free will to monitor that. That's your gift.
Yeah,
This is nobody gets in this place. You're the gatekeeper, right?
right.
So why do I need such a heavy gate is what I'm saying, because people will shut down. I'm never going to have a relationship again because that was so bad. And it's like, no, no, no. Raise your own heart vibration, and then you will actually bring forward someone that would never do that anyway.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, and I think it comes back to you beat yourself up, what you're worth, it's so self-inflicted
Yeah.
that that heavy gate, I'm putting it up because I'm just not doing this again. And
Yeah.
I walk through life in this state. And I
But
just
gosh, you miss
people
so
to
much
do that.
fuel. You're missing
No.
so much. You're missing the fuel
Yeah.
from the bird and the tree and I mean, you're missing the
Yes.
fuel. And
Yeah.
people laugh at me all the time. In fact, this new client this week is like, "What do you mean you just stand out there and let the air?" Because this is me, air. When I don't have any fuel, I will stand out in the air and just suck it in, and that's my octane. That's my high octane. That's that super fuel that makes my heart just sing, and that is way more important to me than having an interchange even with a human sometimes, because that's part of my bigger, bigger, bigger connection, right? I mean, this is part of what
Yeah.
we do.
But then you look around and you see people that they're totally closed down and they're angry and they're violent and all those, that's all closed down.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it, I wish everybody would work on it, you know?
Yeah.
I hope for that actually.
I
Hope-
think it's scary though, because we do get caught up in the ethers of the 4D. And I think
Yeah.
that this is another reason for us to be protective in a different way. I don't feel good about seeing people's hearts having this big thing on it because they're scared from that. What I feel good about is have your bubble really strong and
Mhm.
monitor this way, right? Because there is a need for protection in that heart chakra, but not a protection out of fear, a
Right.
protection out of love, meaning I'm going to maintain my fuel so that I can do more things and connect bigger. So the heart chakra is imperative to connect to protection, because we're floating around in that, I just see it like sludge lately. It just feels like we're in
Yeah.
the sewer lately out in 4D. And the
Right.
astral plane can be so confusing and filled with tricksters and, such inverted programming, et cetera, et cetera. So it's vital for us to have that individualized resonance in our heart chakra to say, no, this is mine. This is not mine. This is
Right.
true.
And
This is not
the
true.
more of us that do this, the more that the collective of one, the consciousness of one, is going to be lighter loving.
Yeah, because it
Is
connects. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was what was amazing to me when I started working on the heart area, like working through all of this and getting to the heart, is I had no idea that by my actions and my choices of how I treated this, which was being pretty numb. I don't think I had chains and locks on my heart, but I was pretty locked down.
Mhm.
And to open that up and start to feel that is, like I said, it's unsettling. It's not easy. So many things come up that you need to work through. And but then knowing that it helps influence our love
Yeah.
and light here,
Everything. Yeah.
it's worth it. It is
Yeah.
so worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you made a really good comment to unfold a little bit more in that it's the feelings. And so this is why 2 and 4 are so connected. Our
Mhm.
feeling center is 2, second dimension,
Mhm.
second chakra, sacral, blah, blah. That's the feelings and emotions, but this is the heightened version of them. And this goes collective and expansive, but they're always kind of relationship. They're both relationships. It's just a
Yeah.
higher category thereof. And so when we are doing the work in 2, right? When we're doing the work to our relationship, how we show up, how we relate to others in our second chakra, we are much easier to jump into how I relate to everything in the fourth chakra.
Mhm.
So the work, it goes through all the chakras. You can't get out of one, put it that way,
No,
right? You can't
no,
skip one, really. Yeah,
no. You can't just sit here. You're not going to just sit here. I
yeah,
mean, that's why it's a difficult chakra, because you're transitioning between
yep,
you know, the grounded, you know, bottom chakras and the higher up cosmic.
And
Spirit.
for those people that are really doing a lot of work and really moving into those higher frequencies more and more consistently. Now, again, when we say we're moving from 3D to 5D, you know, these are 26,000 plus year cycles, and we're only, what, a dozen years in, if that. And so we are going to be expanding, but the human is already in the process of collapsing our actual 1, 2, and 3 chakras, so that eventually our base chakra, our root chakra, will really be our heart chakra. And a lot of us have that tendency to feel that periodically. And then I think it's sort of, to me, I see it more like one of those, what's that instrument that,
Oh, the tambourines, or the that you slam together?
Yeah, well, and it makes a noise, you know,
Yeah.
the mama has a
Which
squeeze box.
is funny is that the
Squeeze box.
Sanskrit part of this is that it's two things clanking together or making sound together when you look at the heart chakra, like the original Sanskrit.
Oh,
Let me see.
oh yeah. You mean what the actual chakra looks like?
Um,
Inside of the lotus flower you're talking about.
yeah. Let me see if I can read it. It's kind of dark.
Because each one of them has a lotus flower, and it has like such cool artwork. I would love to study that further, but there's not a lot.
Well, here's
Wheels
the
of
lotus
Life is the
flower.
best book. Oh, you're talking, yeah.
Yeah. And then what did it say? Gosh, I'm having a hard time seeing it. Sound that is made with any two things striking together. So when you're
Nice.
saying the tambourines or what are they? Like, they're not gongs, they're a tambourine, aren't they? Like not a tambourine is this thing. Whatever. It's two things clanking together. So it's
Yeah.
so cool that you brought that up.
Look at this one. This is Hands of Life. Or Wheels of Life, sorry, Wheels of Life. But what I love is that there's God and Goddess. So now we're getting to the point of the 4D, the keepers of the 4D are the gods.
Balance.
And when we're in this balance, it's God and Goddess. So I love that, because I've been doing a lot more reading and thinking and expanding in my brain about where did the gods go and what is that? And when we get into the 4D realm, everything is starting to become balanced. So there has to be the yin and the yang, the male and the female, and we're still in polarity, but it's a balanced polarity. So that's what's cool about the balance of this. It even brings it to the balance of the God Goddess. And I love that because it's actually in the lotus flower. It's literally inside of the lotus flower. When you see this the Wheels of Life book has, not all of them. It's odd because they stopped drawing them on the last couple of chakras. And I'm not sure why, but this actually is in a tiny version right inside. And this is a tiny version right inside. And then they'll have the Sanskrit writing, etc. But it's so fun to see them close up of what that colorful one that you showed actually is very intricate. And it's balance of the God Goddess. And it reminds me also of almost like an astrological chart. Who's in what house?
I was just thinking that when you're like looking at how it intersects and all the, yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's again, these things are all sacred geometry and blueprints of how everything works. And, you know, we only see the tip of the iceberg in the chakra world. We're only really talking seriously, generally about it. You know, it's just like barely taught. And when you study the actual graphics of it, this would be akin to, oh my goodness, this is your astrological chart and this is moving to that house, etc. It's crazy information. It's a blueprint. And we, you know, we don't even think about stuff like that. So this is the balance. That's the biggest key in this chakra, is the balance. So moving up one. Yeah, I love it. Okay, any other last things that do you think that we didn't hit that we normally do on these things?
No, I think you got everything in there.
I think we covered pretty much of them. I would just be aware of, when I was doing more and more work on the heart chakra, one of the biggest things that I stuck on my front burner all the time, no matter where I was judgment, and really watching how I judge and doing my best to not be a fixer, a meddler, a doer, you know, really standing back and honoring, really standing back and with a compassionate eye, letting people be the way that they are, take them for where they're at, etc. And that's such a hard one. So if you are working on the heart chakra, compassion only comes when you stop judging. Compassion is, and empathy and understanding and forgiveness, all those things that the heart chakra does, judgment gets completely in the way, and it's so easy to judge. And I also don't think it's good when we judge our own judging. Let me say that again. When we judge ourselves for judging, because we are programmed to judge.
Right.
And so when we find ourselves judging, instead of judging myself and feeling guilty, I just did that, go to neutral and say, wow, I still have a trigger. I still have something. It's a red flag. We don't have to beat ourselves up over when we find ourselves judging. And I oftentimes will do that again in Walmart when I'm standing in line and I'm like looking around and I'm frustrated and I start to get irritated and I start judging everything. And it's a great classroom for us to just step back and go, no, you've been that before, or you know, you can understand that, or you can find compassion right now. It's really a great classroom for us to work on judgment, in my opinion.
And I also found working in the heart area, like today, I will be doing some of this, but I will be heavily journaling, trying to get down to what the triggers mean for me.
And the
And
core.
a couple of oracle cards with messages too, just to help me get into that mindset. But I found too that if it's like a trigger like yesterday for me, I'll probably do some writing and then burn it. So
I love that.
And I can ask for, you know, release of what that is. So
And then lastly, what I would like to round down with is affirmations. This is probably one of the most strong affirmation chakras. I mean, they all are, obviously, but when we get to the I ams of affirmations, and affirmations are in the Empath book as well. They're also online, and you know, Louise Hay is the queen of affirmations from her heyday, no pun there. And that she has a zillion heart affirmations, and they're beautiful, and there's quotes and there's wonderful things online. You can get affirmations for the heart chakra in a zillion different places, and there are really great YouTubes that I run in terms of heart affirmations. I am, you know, beautiful, I am loving, I am receiving, I am getting, all those things. To run that in the background when you're doing the dishes or when you're doing whatever is really beneficial to keep that heart space open and to be really present with the fact that you are capable of connecting like that with no conditions attached, because it's all programming. So why not program yourself in a positive way, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying.
And Louise Hay is a really great, if you're looking to figure this out and get started, I mean, her books are great. I mean, that's a good place to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's just as famous, if not more, when she's off this planet as she was when she was on. You know, that's a legacy, right? That's awesome. Great. Well, on behalf of Kim and I, thank you very much. Take what resonates, toss what doesn't. Please like, share, and subscribe if you choose to, and maybe comment. And let us hear from you. We're starting to hear from everybody. It makes us happy. It makes our hearts sing when you guys actually talk.
It does. And let us know if there's topics you want us to cover. We'd be glad to take a look. So
for sure. And until next time, from both of us, cosmic hugs.
Goodbye.
Bye.